Namu Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namu Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namu Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Today I'm reading part 4 of Ananda, Guardian of the Dhamma. The author is Helmuth Hecker. The Guardian of the Dhamma. Among the disciples whom the Buddha declared preeminent, the Venerable Ananda had the unique distinction of being pronounced preeminent in the 5 qualities. All of the other leading disciples excelled in the only one category, or in the case of 2 monks, in 2, but Ananda was declared the bhikkhu disciple who was the foremost in 5 categories. 1. Of those who had heard much, who had learned much of the Buddha's discourses. 2. Of those who had good memory. 3. Of those who had mastery over the sequential structure of teachings. 4. Of those who were steadfast in study, etc. And 5. Of the Buddha's attendants. On the examination of one can see that these 5 qualities all stem from mindfulness. Mindfulness is power of the mind and power of memory, mastery over recollections and ideas. It is the faculty of using the mind at any time as one wishes, as its master. In short, mindfulness is circumspection and orderliness, self-restraint, control, and self-discipline. In a narrower sense, sati is the ability to remember. Ananda had this ability to a phenomenal degree. He could immediately remember everything, even if he had heard it only once. He could repeat discourses of the Buddha flawlessly up to 60,000 words without leaving out a single syllable. He was able to recite 15,004 lines of stanzas of the Buddha. It may sound incredible to us that anyone could accomplish such a feat, but the reason our own memories are so limited is that we encumber our minds with 100,000 useless things, which hinder us from becoming master over our memory. The Buddha once said that the only reason one forgets anything is the presence of one or all of the 5 hindrances: sensual desire, ill will, lethargy, and drowsiness, restlessness and worry, and skeptical doubt. Because Ananda was one in the higher training, he was able to let go of these hindrances at will, and so could concentrate completely on what he heard. Because he did not want anything for himself, he absorbed the discourses without resistance or distortion, arranged them properly, knew what belonged together, recognized within different expressions the common denominator, and like a faithful and skilled registrar, he could find his way around the dark corridors of memory. All of these factors enter into the quality of having heard much. He who has heard much in this sense has discarded willfulness and has become a vessel of truth. He has heard much truth, and that means that he has erased all untruth in himself. Such a one is born from the mouth of the teacher, is truly trained, because he let himself be shaped by the teaching of the enlightened one. Hence, he who has heard much is the most humble and most sincere champion of truth. Everything good which he carries in his mind and upon which he acts, he does not ascribe to his own ability, but to the Dhamma, which he has heard from his teacher. Such a person is truly humble. This quality of listening well and training the mind is named as the first of the 5 specific abilities of Ananda, and it is recorded that all his disciples too were devoted to learning. But the Buddha said it would not be easy to find one who equaled Ananda in this respect. When Ananda was asked by Sariputta as to which monk could lend radiance to the Gasinga Sala tree forest, he answered thus: The monk is one who had heard much, who remembers what he has heard, who treasures what he has heard. As to those teachings that are good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end, and transmit word by word, and in the right way, he completely purified life of holiness. All this he has heard much of, bears in mind, has familiarized himself with by verbal recitation, has examined with his mind, and penetrated thoroughly by view. He speaks on the Dhamma to the 4 kinds of listeners, in whole and in part, and in the right context, to bring them to the final eradication of the underlying defilements. The second quality, sati, or mindfulness, is this context means the retention in mind of the discourses heard, and their application to one's own self-inquiry. For the third quality, gotsi, widely differing renderings have been proposed by translators, but according to the ancient commentary, it refers to the capacity to perceive in the mind the internal connection and coherence of a discourse. This Ananda was able to do because he understood well the meaning and significance of the teaching concerned, with all its implications. Hence, even when his recitation was interpreted by a question, he was able to resume the recital exactly at the point where he had broken off. The fourth quality was his steadfastness, his energy and unflagging dedication to the task of studying, memorizing, and reciting the Buddha's words, and of personally attending on the Master. The fifth and last quality was that of a perfect attendant, which was described earlier. These 5 qualities qualified Ananda for his special role within the Buddha's dispensation, that the guardian of the Dhamma within a political state, the bond, the Dagarika, is the treasurer, the one responsible for storing, preserving, protecting, and dispensing the national wealth. If the treasurer is inept and irresponsible, the state's revenue will decline and the nation will plunge into bankruptcy and disaster. If the treasurer is astute, the national wealth will be wisely utilized and the nation will enjoy prosperity and peace. In the Buddha's dispensation, the wealth is the teachings, and the health and longevity of the dispensation, especially after the Buddha's parinibbana, required that these teachings be carefully preserved and faithfully transmitted to prosperity. The post of treasurer of the Dhamma, therefore, was of immense importance, so much that the one who held it, by maintaining intact the Buddha's teaching within the world, could rightly call himself the eye of the entire world. If one wishes to understand the Dhamma, one should resort to such a one, who is of great learning, a bearer of Dhamma, a wise disciple of the Buddha. The great learning, bearer of the Dhamma, the guardian of the great seer treasure, he is the eye of the entire world, deserving worship of great learning. In selecting Ananda as a treasurer or guardian of his dispensation, the Buddha had chosen one whose personal qualities coincided perfectly with the demands of the post. By virtue of his devotion to learning, Ananda was ideally suited to receive the manifold teachings delivered over a 45-year period. By virtue of his phenomenal memory, he could retain them in mind exactly as spoken by the master. By virtue of his sense of order, he could be relied on to preserve them in the correct sequence and to explain them in such a way that the structure of ideas accorded with the Buddha's intention. And by virtue of his steadfastness, he would so endeavor that the pupils under his charge would receive the teachings fully and be properly trained so that in turn they could pass them on to their own pupils. Buddhist tradition specifies in the number of recitation units in the Buddha's teaching as 84,000, and in one verse Ananda claims to have received them all. I received from the Buddha 82,000 and from the bhikkhus 2,000 more. Thus there are 84,000 units, teachings that are set in motion. Because of his key position among the Buddha's entourage of monks, Ananda was naturally the focus of much attention, and he had to deal with a great number of people. To all those who came into contact with him, he was a model in his blameless conduct, in his untiring solicitude for the master and for the community of monks, in his unperturbable friendliness, his patience, and his readiness to help. Some potential conflicts did not even arise in his presence, and those that did arise were mitigated and resolved through his influence. Ananda was a man without enemies, made a strong and deep impact upon others through his exemplary conduct as well as through his instructions. His image as the Buddha's faithful companion left particularly strong traces in the mind of his contemporaries. Ananda was always a master of a situation, and like a king, he had a sovereign comprehension of affairs. Therefore, thanks to his circumspection, he could handle and organize whatever occurred in the daily life of the Buddha and the Sangha. Through the extraordinary power of his memory, he was able to learn from his experiences and never repeat the same mistakes, as most people are liable to do again and again due to their weak memory. Hence, he could remember people well. Though he may have met them only once, he could therefore deal with them suitably, without leaving the impression that he manipulated them. His circumspection accorded with the facts of a situation so naturally that all reasonable people could only agree with him. Here is the quote of the day. Let us rise up and be thankful. For if we didn't learn a lot, at least we learned a little. And if we didn't learn a little, at least we didn't get sick. And if we got sick, at least we didn't die. So let us all be thankful. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may their minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light break the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha.